Okay, we've got that recording, and take it away.
All righty.
Awesome.
Currently, right now, Ron, it says we're not able to share our screen since you're still sharing yours. Can we get that to where we can share our screen? Sweet.
There we go. Thanks, guys.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, everybody. We're excited to be here, and we are excited to teach you a little bit of how we've been working in our business. It's a little bit different than how other people do it because we've just found something that works for us. That most people use signs or use cold marketing strategies, but today we're going to be talking about building for events using the 5 currencies that Mitch Nelson talks about in his presentation, but specifically for warm market and in-person invitations. So when we're talking about warm market and in-person, that means friends and family. That's the easiest definition. And then also talking to people that we meet at the store, at the mall, or wherever we are, 3-foot rule invitations, attending networking events such as Toastmasters or entrepreneur groups and different seminars that we went to. We just went to on Friday the Tony Robbins conference here in Salt Lake, and we met private money lenders and different people who are interested in real estate. So those are really good. We're talking about if you host a cash flow game night or you do cash recovery parties and then you intend to bring people from those to an epic presentation. That's what we're talking about when we say warm market and in person.
We decided to focus on warm market because people do business with people they like and trust. The people that we know that like us and trust us most are our warm market. We also know what they need, and even if they don't know that they need it. So examples like doing the velocity banking, we know that people need to get out of debt. Even if they don't know that they need it, we can still help them with that.
So we know the saying that facts tell and stories sell. So we're going to add another story to your arsenal by just really quickly giving you like a 2-minute rundown of where we started. So this is us. I know that some of you are on audio, like you're just on audio, you can't see the screen, but we are Joe and Lauren. We met actually in Salt Lake City at the airport before we flew over to live in France for a year as part of a study abroad program that our school was doing. So we dated the whole time. We met at the airport and then we dated while we lived in Europe, and we got engaged at the Eiffel Tower, the whole bit. And it was so exciting, so much fun. The program actually allowed us to earn a bachelor's degree from each school that we attended. So we attended Southern Utah University and we got a bachelor's degree from there. We also attended our school in France, and we got a bachelor's degree from there. So we came home, we got married, we met each other's families, and then we graduated college, and it was so exciting. And we figured, wow, it's going to be so easy. We have 4 bachelor's degrees. We're going to find the greatest careers. We're going to have tons of money. It's not even something that we need to question. But church basketball is a competitive sport, and Joe ended up being injured and needed to have a really invasive knee surgery and wasn't able to walk for 2 months and then was on crutches for a time after that. So our job prospects that we had became pretty limited because he really needed to be sedentary. He couldn't be in a position where he's walking. So we took a job that worked, and then we started to try and put our lives together and, post-graduation. And then we realized that it was not going to be the career path that we wanted to follow. It was difficult to live on $32,000. We just really didn't want to do that for very long. So Joe has always been interested in real estate investing. We decided to check it out and see what options were out there as far as learning how to do that. So we went to a guru event. I know probably a lot of you have been on those, and we been to those before, and we happened to sit next to Christian Sadler and Judy Fee. If you haven't met them, they are the most amazing individuals, and we're so grateful for their friendship in our lives. They introduced us to the Elevate community in Salt Lake City. It was exactly what we were looking for, especially having the contrast of something that was definitely not what we were looking for with the guru events. And $52,000 was, one of the lightest packages that they had. And this was definitely much more reasonable, and it came with a lot more value. So we signed up. We purchased our education the end of last year, and then we sat around for a little while being entrepreneurs instead of entrepreneurs until we realized we really had to do some work. So then in May of this year, we decided we were actually going to start marketing. We were going to start working on the 30, 60, 90-day plan, and we were going to get into our first deal. We were going to get 5-star qualified. We had all these goals, and so we actually started to do the work that everybody talks about on these calls, that you have to do the work. So we started to do that, apply the principles, and since that time, we were able to get 5-star qualified on Monday and then left for the leaders retreat on that Thursday. So we were just in the nick of time. We were able to go, and it was an amazing experience to be there with the top level leaders of the company and with people of all ranges of income and all ranges of experience. And it was so awesome to be there and feel like part of the group. We also are in the middle of our first flip with some of the other community members, and that's going really, really well. We're going to head out there after this to go check it out a little to see what the progress has been. It's a really exciting deal. We're going to make around low numbers is around $55,000. So we're so excited about that. And we're surrounded every single week by our friends. And we love that our friends are of such a high caliber, and we wouldn't be happier doing anything else. So that's our story. Now we've wrapped it up. You can rephrase it, so it's shorter, whatever. But you are welcome to use our story to talk to your guests and help them understand that, even 2 young kids right out of college can make this work and make it happen for themselves. So when it comes to our training, I'll let Joe talk about this slide.
So when we realized that we actually were in business, not just wanting to be in business, we kind of did some studying, and we boiled down the 4 years of experience that we had into some very simple concepts so that we stayed simple and easy and effective. So business is a system where something is exchanged for something else. Most definitions say usually for money. We changed ours for usually a currency because we realized that there are things that are more important than money, and that giving those and trading those is going to make it so that we make money. And so boiling our whole 4 years of school down, that's kind of the basis of where we started.
And economics, we took many classes in economics. One of Joe's bachelor's degrees is in finance. And so when we looked at, okay, how can we use economics to our advantage, we did study it. There are 2 key concepts, and this is what we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about, is in economics, there are 2 driving forces, and this is all you need to know about economics. Number 1 is that people respond to incentives. If you want a particular behavior, you have to incentivize it. The second is that value is created and distributed only through exchange. Nothing has value until it has been exchanged. So if you haven't seen Mitch Nelson's presentation, this might be a little bit new to you, so I'll go through just really, really quickly. But in the wealthy mindset, there are 5 currencies. And in order, they are time, knowledge, relationships, credit, and money. If you have all of these in the right priority, then you will have, I didn't draw that. Oh, there's a random red line on the screen. If you have all of these in the right order, then you will have an abundance of all of them. It's this interesting dynamic that the wealthy understand and the poor people don't understand. So all of these can be exchanged for any of the others. And, time, knowledge, relationships, and money, that's pretty self-explanatory. But credit is the one that we've both kind of realized has 2 meanings. You can be thinking of credit as lines of credit. That's helpful too, banks, traditional bank lending, whatever it is. Lines of credit are extremely valuable, especially in real estate. But when it comes to marketing, credit, we also define it as the type of credit that you give somebody that they are seeking so much, whether it's a boost in their confidence, a belief in themselves, if it's compliments and making them feel good about their appearance or their talents or whatever it is. That type of credit is so valuable to people. They will give up other things that are of value to them in order to get that good feeling. So that's one of the ways that we exchange something that we can give them for something that we want from them.
I think many of us have probably heard the same kind of thought that Lauren was just saying, reiterated by Grant Cardone, when he says, treat a buyer like a buyer and they'll become a buyer, right? It's giving them that credit, that belief that they're going to do it. Another thing with these 5 currencies that we found is that when we joined, and when everybody joined or noticed, it was we were seeking one of these to be satisfied, one or more of them. It was either I wanted my time back, or I wanted to be able to have a better relationship with my wife, or I needed the knowledge of doing real estate, or I was stuck in a pickle and I needed more money. There's all of these come back to those are the reasons why we did it. They tie directly into it.
So we broke down economics and business for you. Both of my bachelor's degrees are in marketing, so now I'm going to break down marketing. It's really, really easy. On one side, you have something you want. On the other side, they have something they want. Marketing is figuring out, you consciously creating the exchange so that both of you get what you want. That's all. 2 bachelor's degrees, 4 years, that's all you need to know. I just saved you a lot of money. So on our side, what do we want is we want combo sales, of course. We want team members who are active and dedicated to the vision of everything that is here. We want qualified guests coming down. We want to know that they are prepared for what they're going to see. And then on the other side, what they want is they want a way to be out of debt. They want more time. They want more money. They want any of those 5 currencies. They want some confidence in themselves. Whatever it is that they want, we've got to figure out how to exchange what we want and what they want so that both of us benefit in the end.
One of the things that we found with this too is that it's extremely helpful to get very specific. It's like when we talked about we want active team members, what does that look like? For us, this is what our ideal team member looks like. We got very, very, very specific because then it's easier to know what exchange we want and who it is that we're looking for. The next kind of part of that is once we know what the exchanges are, then we need to start doing them. And we found a rule that exists with everybody that's been successful. It's the more exchanges you do, the more they come to you. Lauren talked about that we were at the Tony Robbins conference. Gary Vaynerchuk was there, and that's a guy who gets it. Like, he delivers so much stuff for free, puts so much value out there that the exchanges take place. He's giving and giving and giving, and people are receiving and receiving and receiving, so that eventually it clicks, and then they become his customer, and then they're doing business together. That's the same thing with us. The more exchanges that we can do, the more exchanges will come to us, and the more business that we're going to do as well. So here's an example of one of my good friends. He's Michael Jones, his wife and kids. I met him at work while I was still at my W-2 job. What they wanted was they still had some student loans. They wanted to move from Utah to different states, North Carolina. They wanted some time and friends to be happy because they hadn't been living here in Utah for very long, so they wanted to go on like group date nights and different things that way. We wanted our first qualifying combo sale. We wanted to help our friends. We wanted to go and see Wonder Woman. There were things that both of us wanted that lined up, and so we found an exchange or some transactions that we could do together that would make it so that then we would do more and more and more business together. So we went and saw Wonder Woman. We invited them down to get out of debt. We showed them a bunch of different things, and that was the start of the relationship. Another example is my sister and brother-in-law. She had just graduated from college. She had gone back and got an engineering degree, and so we realized that there was an opportunity here where we could help them change and establish their life at this pivotal point where she was just graduating from school. We could help them set up a different budget, put them on a different trajectory, a different path than they maybe would have been coming out of school. So again, we wanted our second qualifying combo sale. We wanted to help our family. We wanted to get them in a better position. They needed to be out of debt. They needed income. For my brother-in-law, who had some changes in employment as well, wasn't working regular hours at the employment that he had previously. And so we invited them down, said, hey, I know that this is the best budget information that you'll ever receive. Come and see how Velocity Banking will work for you, how you can change the projection of life that you're on. And then we went and had family dinner with them, and we went and did different activities with them and built that relationship and concreted the information in their heads where they understood it, and then we did business.
So I'll share this story. So this is my friend Josh and his wife Emily. They are some of my new closest friends, and I'm excited for them. They just barely got started. So Josh is an incredible entrepreneur, and he was running a business, a marketing business, and he needed more cash flow in his life. It's a startup business, and he needed a way to make more income for his family so that he was able to focus on that one, which was a little bit of a long-term game. He also, as I began to talk to him and just learn about him, I didn't invite him until I'd learned enough about him that I really felt I could help him. So I learned that he had a dream to live in Montana with his family. They really love that area, and they have big dreams to live on a self-sustaining property, which I think is awesome. So I talked to him, and here's kind of what our conversation sounded like. I knew he was experienced in sales, and when we identified what we wanted, it was an active team member who had one of our qualifications was that we wanted them to have some sales experience. So that's what I wanted. And what he wanted was, he wanted to learn a way that he could have more cash flow. So I had a conversation with him, and I said, you know what? Would you give me 2 hours of your time to show you a way that you could make more cash flow a lot quicker and invest in real estate at the same time? You can learn how to do both of those so that you're able to live your dream and live in Montana and work a business from a laptop. Is that something that you'd give me 2 hours of your time and attention for? Well, when I phrase it that way, of course he's going to say yes. So he said yes, and he came down, and he was so excited by what he saw. We continued to have more conversations. That's one thing that's a little bit different about our way of doing business is we make this a little bit of a longer term game. We really want to work with our people so that they understand full vision, and the decision to buy is really, really easy when they understand the whole vision. So we actually, for I think it was about a month, we had game nights at their house, and I went and I met all the kids, and we went and had dinner with them. We really built this relationship. There were continuing to be exchanges, so that by the time he really needed to make a decision, we had that trust built up, and we are now really good friends, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So here's an example that's not necessarily marketing, but it was so essential for us to understand this concept that the more exchanges you do, the more that they come to you. So one of the things we wanted was, of course, our first real estate deal. We wanted to have that credibility, and as part of that real estate deal that we got, we needed to raise funding. So we had multiple exchanges that happened within a week for us to be able to do this deal. Mitch Nelson, we'd had exchanges with him in the past so that he learned that we wanted our first real estate deal. So we were working we have an office down in Murray in Utah, and I was working in the little office, and he was working in the big office. And he knew, based on the exchanges we'd done before, he knew that we wanted a real estate deal. And he had a real estate deal that was giving him a headache. So he walked down the hall, and he offered an exchange. Hey, do you want a headache? And it was a funny conversation because he really wanted to unload this, but it was something we wanted. So we talked with him, and we called members of the community and said, okay, let's do this. And then we needed to raise funding. So we found someone in the community. We found Debbie and Troy Rice, who had access to some funds. We made an exchange with them. We brought them in on the deal. They brought the funds. We're one step closer. And then we talked to my dad, who wanted a better return on his retirement funds. And we'd been having these exchanges with him over a period of months to tell him, as soon as we get a deal, we will get you a better return. He was ready for it. So the second I told him I have a deal, he said, let's go see it. So we went and saw the house, and he pulled out his 401k loan that day. The more exchanges you do, the more that they come to you. So as soon as we started doing some exchanges, the more that they came to us, the more they benefited us. So now we have our first flip. And right now, I mean, if you're seeing this picture, that looks like a jungle. We have ripped out a ton of that landscaping, and it looks a ton better already. Oh, so now we'll just give you some quick examples of exchanges that you can make starting today. You can start to begin to put these in place so that you are having more of the exchanges benefit you because you're being conscious about them. So for example, if you want practice speaking to a group or speaking to guests and learning how to think on your toes a little bit, what you can do is offer some of your time and your talents to the group and be on registration team.
Another one that we ran into sometimes is we have a reluctant guest to buy. They want to do it, they want to do it, they want to do it, but they're just like, man, I just don't know if I can. And so we need to build up their beliefs in themselves, give them some credit, make it so that they know that like this is a path that they can follow. Other people have done it successfully, they can too. They're great people. They have so many untapped talents and abilities.
If you want a family member to come, but they are really busy with their yard, well, why don't you offer to give some of your time and your strength and hard work and go and help in their yard for a couple of hours? By you exchanging some of your time, it's really easy because you've now given something of value for you to say, hey, you know what? I'm really excited about what I'm doing, and it's important to me that you see and you can kind of understand what I'm doing because it's so exciting to me. Would you give me, now I've given you 2 to 3 hours of my time, would you give me just 2 hours of your time? Come and meet some of my friends, my group of investors. It will be worth it because you're also going to learn how to pay off a 30-year mortgage in 5 years. You've given them so much value. So we actually don't really ever have someone say no, that they won't come to an epic, because we've already given so much that the reciprocity principle, it's easy. They're just, oh, of course I'll do that for you. We really don't have anybody say no to us.
A few other examples that we've had where we've kind of run into some issues that took us a little bit of time to figure out was like, everybody's had that one legger that they couldn't close, right? They're like, oh, I've got the husband, but the wife's not on board, or the wife, but the husband's not on board. And I need to get both of them together to see it so they can both understand it. And before it was like, well, man, you guys need to figure out a babysitter. And we realized that for $10,000, I could watch somebody's kid for 2 hours. Like, that's the best babysitting wages that I think anybody's ever made, right? And so we talked to them, and it's funny. Everybody that we've talked to about this and said, hey, bring your kids, bring them an iPad or something so that they're okay, and a snack, and we'll just sit with them out in the hall. I've already seen what you're going to see. I already know the information. I need you to see it, but I'll watch your kids for 2 hours. And it's funny because they always get a babysitter. Like, oh, that's an impossible thing, until, yeah, we'll watch your kids for you, and they always figure it out. But if they don't, I'm willing to watch their kids for that time.
I put in this last example too because this happened actually just this Thursday. So we did our Super Saturday training a couple of weeks ago, and when you teach someone, it cements it more in your mind. So with our guests that we had on Wednesday, we pretty typically have at least 3 or 4 warm market in-person people coming to every epic. So we talked to one of our guests, and the wife she had a lot of questions, but she works a lot and she has little tiny kids, and they weren't able to come to the follow-up because of that. And I can tell she's interested, but she feels really skeptical. So I changed the subject, and I told her, I gave her some credit. I said, you have the most beautiful hair color. It looks like you've got these chocolate ribbons curling around your face. Like, I think it's really, really beautiful. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, I've never dyed my hair, but I've been thinking about it, but I really love how yours looks. That's the conversation we had. Well, she, turns out, is a hairstylist. And so my virgin, never dyed hair, she was like, can I please play with your hair? I said, you know what? Why not? I'm going to have 2.5 hours where you are captive and I can answer your questions. That's what I'm thinking in my head. So I'm literally going to give her my hair as an exchange for some of her time and attention. So these exchanges, you have unlimited creativity. Let me just tell you that.
And so many of these things are things you already want, like to do your hair, or to have friends, or like to be on registration and learn how to publicly speak to people better. All of those things are things that most of us want to do anyways. Make the exchanges happen.
We have found that one of the most important things to having success with warm market is core belief number 3. Now, I know on these calls they emphasize the 4 core beliefs pretty often, so I'm sure you're familiar with them. But the core belief number 3 is that you are doing them a favor by inviting them to see an epic presentation, or play cash flow with you, or go to a house tour. You are doing them a favor. As long as you keep that internally, that every time we are giving of something and we're wanting them to give us something back, we believe that they are better off. We are doing them a favor. Everything that we've given is of less value than them coming down and seeing how they are literally going to revolutionize their lives, how they can retire in 5-10 years, how they can get a better return on their retirement funds that they already have, how they can pay off their debt so much quicker, how they can actually start making $10,000 months, how they can have rentals that overcome, that are grander than their expenses. All of those things, they are so much better off. We're giving them this little tiny gift, and they're going to get so much more. So we really believe that we are doing them a favor.
We make that apparent through all of our scripts and the verbiage that we use and everything too. For example, when we invite people, it's, hey, I participate with this really exclusive group, but I may be able to get you in as my guest. I can do you a favor and get you in as my guest for you to come and see this life-changing information that saved my family $95,000. Like, I saved my parents that $95,000 on their mortgage that they're not going to have to pay. And so there's ways to phrase that through everything that you do. And when the power behind it comes when you clearly understand what is the exchange that is worth it for them. And so we wrote out 4 different questions that have helped us through that process of figuring out which exchange is going to make it worth it for them. And the 4 questions are these: what do you, me, the IMA, what do I want? What am I willing to give? And what are they willing to give? What is my guest willing to give? And what do they want for it? When I understand those 4 things, it's very easy to then give an invitation that is very specific to them and valuable and worth it for them. And so we use these 4 things on all of the events that we do, whether it's an epic, a follow-up, a house tour, intensive, super Saturdays, like all of those things. We're going to create an exchange in the invitation that is worth it to them. And the way that we phrase most of our invitations comes from the book GoPro. It's very simple. It's probably the easiest script we've ever used. It's, if I blank, would you blank? So, for example, if I could show you how in 2 hours to save $95,000 like my parents did, would you come and watch a presentation for 2 hours? Is 2 hours worth $95,000 to you? Or if I could show you how to make $10,000 a month, would you want to check out my business opportunity? Or like, there's tons of different examples with them, but it's as simple as figuring out what is a valuable exchange for them, and then if I could provide this exchange to you, would you provide an exchange back for me?
So based on some of the examples that we talked about, this is how simple our conversation was. So with Michael Jones that Joe talked about, his really good friend, we mentioned that we wanted to go see Wonder Woman and they wanted to go on a date night. So we said, hey, if we took you to see Wonder Woman this Saturday, would you put in your order when it's done for your combo to start you on this path of changing your life? Well, of course. So that's what we did. We went to Wonder Woman, and then we sat outside on a little table outside the concession stand, and we put in his order right there. If when I talked to Josh, my friend Josh, if I brought you and I just answered your questions and showed you a way where you can start making more cash flow into your life, would you accompany me to this thing that I'm going to, where we're going to hear from a guy who's a best-selling author, and then I edified Mitch Nelson? Well, of course. You don't get very many no's when you phrase it this way. And so it's a really, really powerful concept to just understand that when you want someone to give you something, you must give something in return. And if the value is there, of course the exchange is going to happen without question. We'll just really quickly end with, think of, we've been talking about business, but how much more does this happen? I mean, even in a marriage. Joe does not really like to do chores. And so sometimes he really wants breakfast made for him, though. So he'll say, hey, Lauren, if I help you clean the kitchen, would you make me breakfast in bed? And then, oh, well, I see the value there because he's going to help me clean the kitchen, and I'll make him breakfast because it's going to make him happy, and that's something I want. Those type of exchanges happen all the time. It's just now time to become conscious of them. So just in closing, we'll just summarize really quickly what we've said. The more that we make exchanges, the more value we create is distributed, and the more money we make. These invitations that we're making for people to come and watch what we have to offer are the initiation of that exchange. They are the first step to exchanging something of value. when you become conscious of those things and you actually apply everything else that everyone talks about, so that you have the confidence and the credibility, and you've had some experience closing, all of these things become a lot easier. But these exchanges take place when you go out and you give of some value for something that you want in return.
The last thing that I would say with this is, if you're struggling to make exchanges in the actual IMA business, go and create other exchanges so that you create that success habit and so that you have successes to rely off of. When we found out that people wanted to know what we had done already, at the beginning we're like, oh no, we haven't done much of anything, but this guy has, and it just didn't feel, we weren't coming from a place of strength that we felt like. So I went out and I taught my family members all velocity banking, and even if they didn't apply it, I ran their numbers and figured out how much it would save them. And I could do something as simple as, what have you done? Well, I'm learning real estate, but first I learned some financial literacy things that have saved my family over $250,000, that I've taught them principles that will save them over $250,000, and I did all of that within a month's time. And so go create the little exchanges. Do maybe the Gary Vaynerchuk thing of giving free value, knowing that exchanges are going to come back to you, and just appreciating them when they do. Don't do it with an expectation of anything, but appreciate it when it comes back to you.
So thanks so much, guys. We were excited to do this. This is our first training call. We're really still pretty brand new to training, so I hope that we were able to give you of enough value today that it was worth it for you. We hope you have an awesome, awesome Tuesday, and we hope to meet all of you if we haven't met you in person yet. And go and kill it today.
Still
Thank
there,
you
Ron?
so much, Lauren and Joe. You guys did an awesome job.
Thank you.
That was really great.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Would you be so kind as to share your contact details with us?
Sure, no
Yep.
problem.
Can you see? You can still see my screen, correct?
I can.
Do you want phone number or email or both?
Both would be great if you could.
That's mine. That's Lauren's. There's our email address. We're both on Facebook. I'm going to be on Facebook under the name Jonathan is my legal name, but I've gone by Joe my whole life, and I don't know why it's not Joe on Facebook, but it's not.
Cool. Folks, that was an awesome, awesome job. Lauren, Joe, so great to see you guys again. We met really briefly on leadership, and just well done.
I was gonna say I remember your voice.
The South African. Cool.
Yes.
Well, yeah, well done, guys. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
You
guys.
did great. Thanks for the help.
You bet.
Joe and Lauren, Ron here. I sure appreciate it. You guys did great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Sure, great team.
So we've got a chat.
Okay.
Awesome.
So Ron, I'm not sure how to end the video. I don't know if you're in charge of that.
I'll take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
See you guys. Where's that chat? It's not in the meeting.